So tonight, for the people that are not used to this, I'm not either. This is my first time trying to make a character build on stream. Long story short, I'm gonna go through everything that we picked for this character and why we went and picked them. But before we do so, I gotta talk about the character itself. Shino Aburame is one of the characters that got like... I feel like it got messed up by the author of Naruto. It's a character that only gets 3 fights in the whole series. 2 before they get to be adult and 1 in the Shippuden part. So we barely see him fight, but every time he fights, he's either extremely tactical or a potential monster at what he's doing. Fought Kenkuro, he fought that guy from the Sound Village by making his arm explode. And lastly, he fought his brother that was having some kind of very poisonous beetle into him. Long story short, the whole concept of the character is that his own body is a hive to beetles. Let's be honest. Like you can call them what they are supposed to be called. I think it's Kankoruchi, something like that. Those are beetles. So technically, everything he does is by using these creatures that are just reproducing at a crazy pace. He has some that are technically able to drain mana, which will probably be to try to put a little bit of lifesteal into the build. Exactly nothing. That's one. We also have something into him where he's very good to mark its target. There's a lot of thing about that character that, like, when I was watching Naruto as a kid, I was like, this character needs more screen time. Every time you see him, he's only that extremely stoic character that is very, 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 like, leaving its emotion behind a little bit using intimidation, and that's pretty much it. So, and they even made a meme about it, like in Shippuden, there's a time where he meets with, what's his name? I think it was the guy with the dog. He meets with the guy with the dog, and then he's like, and there's me. Like, who are you? Because he never had screen time. This is as simple as that. Like, the character had 3 fights. One of the reasons is probably that he would have blown away a lot of the challenges that the other character would have met later on. Some character that he was totally outplaying were able to outplay some of the main antagonists of the early part of the series. Yeah, you'll play a weeb. What do you mean? I'm gonna make many builds. That's our first one, Faras. Oh, long story short, and if anybody wants to have just like that PDF sent to them so that they are able to play the character in the way that we thought him, feel free to do so. Yeah, Faras, it's gonna be something now. We took a human. There's no question. The character is a human, but he's very, very empty. And since he's using a lot of poison in the story and he's kind of resistant to them, we went for the feat choice, Poisoner. I know it's not an OP build. Like, you don't go for Poisoner when you want something that is totally broken. Poisoner will just let you like do a damage roll that deals poison damage that will ignore resistance to poison damage. It's not a game changer. It is barely something that will that will like help him set up some bonus damage on what he's doing with his bugs. You can apply poison to a weapon or piece of ammunition as a bonus action. Technically, the way we would like for it to go, you talk with your DM and you ask him if he allows you to... Technically, you can do it. Like, that's an option in the game. But if you can, like, put your bugs onto your arrows when they go, and you use that as your long-range hit. If it's denied, we have an alternative where you could just basically put 2 points in Monk instead of Warlock to be able to reach the same point, but you would have to go melee to try to set up your swarm and stuff. Gain proficiency with the Poisoner's Kit. Basically, it's one of the only items we had it onto the build as it start, and it's a DC 14 Constitution saving throw, or he takes poison damage. Becomes poison until the end of your next turn, so he's gonna take a tick in your turn. Out of that, we went. I know I trash talk Ranger the last time we saw each other and talked about DnD, but like, there was two ways of going with this. Either we went like Swarm Ranger, Swarm Keeper Ranger, which totally fits the taste of Shino, or we went the opposite way and went for Circle of the Spore, but reflavored the thing to be like bug related. So you guessed it, we went for Swarm Keeper and we went for a Ranger, and we also made a good dip, like a fourth of the level in Warlock. Technically, if I had to build the character and grow up in level with it, I would probably start him Warlock, reach level 3, and then like put everything else in Swarm Keeper until you reach level 18. Because Swarm Keeper got a lot of things that are really, really in taste of Shino. So 2 options, 3 Warlock full Ranger, or 3 Ranger so that you get access to that subclass you have, and 3 Warlock, and then you just keep on going for your Ranger until you reach 15. We'll see all the features that come with it. It really fits the thing. For the Deaf Explorer, we like, it's not much. This is like languages that you are able to talk. These are, and that's for later. We choose one of the skills proficiency. Your proficiency is double with that. I think we took Perception just because is very much a character that in the story will provide some support by saying my bug spotted that thing and they reacted, so I know they are there. You will emulate that with a very high perception. So in the feed that we pick later, we took things like Alert for that exact reason. Favored enemy, honestly, I don't think he has any favored enemies that are significant. I went for Humanoid, I went for Beast, I went for Construct. Basically, this one is because he was able to budge up the pipe system in the harm of the other guy. These one, I don't have a real explanation. He's fighting human most of the time in the story, so this made a lot of sense. And that's pretty much it. For the rest, I went for things that are kind of common in D&D campaign, but you could go and try to make it to fit with your campaign so that you would still be like doing a significant amount of stuff during the fights as a Ranger. We took as a fighting style Archery. If your DM is not down with the fact of flavoring your arrow as you shooting bugs, you could always decide to go for dueling, decide to go for 2-weapon fighting. It does not fit much with the character, but you will understand later, because if he's not okay with the archery things, go and drop 2 level of Warlock in Monk so that you can fight with your arms and just set up your other effect onto it, like with Flurry of Blow with your 2 key points a day. We have as a Ranger and archetype Swarm Keeper. Everything in Swarm Keeper just fits the definition of Shino. You could try to reflavor a Druid of the Spore, like Circle of the Spore. That would do, but that would not come back to be this greatly, like this great of a fit to it. We have Primeval Awareness. This is just something that you get as a Ranger. Thing is, this you could use it to be able to get some awareness on the region around you, and for 1 minute per level of the spell slot that you expend, you can sense whether the following type of creature are present. This is basically like the thing that I was telling you earlier. This is your bug snitching who they've seen in a reasonably short term. Gathered Swarm. This is where you start having the Swarm Keeper things. It gives you as a bonus when you hit a creature with an attack. This does not say that it has to be a melee attack. This can also be a long range attack. Swarm is assisting you. It's the whole concept of Shino Aburame in the story. So like, either you do 1d6 bursting damage extra because the swarm fights for you. You clearly take Swarming Insect so that it fits. The attack target must succeed a strength saving throw or being moved away 15 feet in any direction of your choice. Basically, you can use it to move your enemy on the floor, move it up, move it back. No matter what you decide to go for, this move, technically, if your enemy does not have a flying speed, can give you a good advantage if you can like hit more than one in a round. Like also, if you... Oh, it's horizontally. Sorry about this. Con what I just said. It's horizontally, but you can like move it somewhere where it's going to be more painful for your team to have him. It does not imply that you push him back. You can push him like behind you if you wish to like give your ally next turn some advantage if you have a rogue in your team. And you are moved by 5 feet by the swarm. So basically you hit and you get a free 5-foot step. That may sound like nothing. This will force the enemy to move 5 feet in your direction to be able to get you a hit next round. This may pay some time. Swarm Keeper magic, you will get some spells that fits with it. Not exactly what we were looking for, but everything here, you can make it so that it feels like it's the bug doing it. Fairy Fire, you have some of your beetle like just shining their butts on the back of your enemies. Mage Hand, you have a long range hand just manipulating stuff for you. That's a bunch of little bugs. Web, do I have to make you a drawing of this? Gaseous Form, honestly, there's some part where you could easily, when he's fighting Kankuro, imagine the fact that his whole body is not that tangible. So it's a very good addition to put onto your list. Hurricane Eye, I don't have any idea. Like any remembrance of what this is, we'll have to read later. Ability score improvement. We skip it, we go for Sharpshooter. The whole idea, and that is if your DM lets you use your bow. If your DM do not let you use your bow, go straight for alert. Like skip the need for other things, either Sharpshooter or Defensive Duelist. If you have to like dip in Monk, would also make sense to be able to just use your bug as a last second, I'm saving myself from danger. The same way that in the story, there's always a lot of them using lugs or using anything to be able not to take the hit. Like put a clone behind them and take the hit for them. Extra attack. You don't need to go and get it like any further than this. It's kind of like saying what it is. If you are using attack, you can do one more. We were at Rising Tide. You can condense part of your swarm into a focused mass that lifts you up. As a bonus action, you gain flying speed of 10. Basically, you become even more intangible at level 7. And you can fly up to a 10 feet speed for 1 minute or until you are incapacitated. This, if you take those 2-point dip in Monk, you will also be able to have a 20 feet of move speed. Which, I mean, it's just something more working for you. And if you are allowed to use your bow and to flavor it as you shooting some swarm, fair. If you're not, once again, Monk or when you get to be a Warlock, you just take some Eldritch Blast and you replace your bow with that. It's not going to be as effective, but technically, I don't think it's a weapon attack that you need to do for your Scattered Swarm. Let's go read. It is in that, I'm not sure if it can trip. We'll go read, but like you can cause this on each of your turn. You can cause the swarm to assist you in one of the following way immediately after you hit a creature with an attack. I think Eldritch Blast could trigger that. I don't see why it wouldn't work. You can do this thing a number of times equivalent to your proficiency per long rest. Let's try it. Starting at 8th level, moving through non-magical difficult, you just don't have problem moving through plants and stuff that would stop your walking. You still are very agile. That 2 dip in Monk could pay here. I'll tell you why I went for 5 level in Warlock. And some of you will be like, okay, those 2 last level are not that interesting. I'd rather go Monk. Get the movement speed instead. Hide in plain sight. It's kind of good, kind of bad. Like worst case scenario, you get to give yourself advantage for the next round. So it's worth it. Mighty Swarm is the moment where you really start to feel the Shino vibe. Where your Gathered Swarm do more damage. It's not exactly what we wanted out of this. We have a creature fails its saving throw against being moved by Gathering Swarm. You can knock the creature prone. So you're not only pushing it back, you're also giving advantage to all your allies that would hit on that after. And when you also cause him to lose a part of its movement speed for the next round. When you are moved by Gathered Swarm, it gives you half cover. That may look like nothing, but this is the idea of using defensive duelist while you're riding back. I'm pretty sure we took alert, just because it's basically the way to emulate those bugs snitching what's happening around you. And here we took observant. If you took those two and you take your wisdom up, that I forgot to take, you basically get to be the alarm of your whole team. You are way harder to surprise. Your passive wisdom and your passive wisdom, perception, and investigation gets higher. You are the one that's not getting surprised by anything. We're not building NPC awful, we're building like characters, but if someone wants to play them, they can. At the moment, we're just trying to figure out how we could build Shino Aburame in DnD. The basic rules that we can find in the core material. What I mean by core, I mean like everything that is legitly sent out by Wizard of the Coast, you know. Here at Swarmkeeper, your Swarmkeeper feature at level 15 get you the power to discorporate. You basically disappear into your swarm and you teleport 30 feet of yourself wherever you can see. Do anything that is unoccupied. It is busted. This is the thing that like Prison Walker were doing when they were shooting their stuff. Or this is not Dimensional Door. This is not Blink. I can't remember the name of the spell, but that thing is basically letting you dodge attack, like free dodge, to avoid danger when you take damage. You get resistant to the damage, you take half of the damage, and you move away for 30 feet. You can spawn back in somewhere. It's Misty Step. Thank you, Awful. Misty Step, but you can do that as a not even as a reaction, just because you take damage. No, it's your reaction. Use that as your reaction to half the damage and run away. And when you're level 15, you're like, give or take +6 in proficiency bonus. So it's 6 times a day where it does not consume a spell slot. You just dash out of danger. If you are allowed to use your arrows as the bug swarm going, fine. If you are not, it could be your Eldritch Blast, or you could go, as we said, Monk. But technically, even like by the book, you can say my first arrow every round is a swarm of insect following it and just like on the enemy, deciding what it's gonna do to him after it hits. And I decided to put a little bit of Warlock into it because, let's be honest, past this level, Swarmkeeper does not get anything that is interesting. We could go and try to put it at level 20. Swarmkeeper. Go and try to push it level 20. But here's the thing. Past level 15, you get Insect Plague as a spell. And out of this, pretty much nothing. Like, that's the last thing that is very cool that the class give you. And then it's done. So, Druid Capstone. Honestly, the other option we had, this is Ranger, by the way. But like, the other option we had was for Druid and to try to reflavor Circle of the Spore. This one, by design, just does exactly what we were looking for. If you want a sweet spot to stop, this is for level. Okay, that's a lot of level to put in for just one extra thing. You could decide to stop at level 11 and dip in Monk as well. Like, these 3 things are not that worth. Vanish is not bad. You can hide as a bonus action. But, yeah. It's not as solid as what we wanted. And I decided to put in Warlock, at least level 3 of Warlock. But the idea is simple. You made a deal with the queen of your hive. You are the hive. The queen lives in you. She is your patron. So your survival now depends on hers, and her survival now depends on yours. Your Warlock cannot have more motivation to try to make sure the queens thrive, because he's now basically the hive. Like, your whole body becomes the hive in the story. So trying to fit with that, we went for clearly a... Did I pick X-Blade? I picked X-Blade because I love the idea of life stealing a bit. If you would like to stay, let's say, perfectly in character, I would probably recommend something like the Undying or the Archfey. The reason why I went X-Blade here is to avoid the duplication of spells that are given by your thing. And also, his little bugs were sucking out chakra in some fight that he did. Oh, X-Blade fit with that? Since you cannot suck out mana in this game, because the concept of mana is not really there out of for a few characters that have side gauge of HP of mana, like in Key or Sorcerer Point or things like that. So since you can suck out mana, sucking out HP seemed to be probably the way to go. Pact Magic, we don't care about this. We went for... I don't want the X-Blade's Curse. Worst case scenario. Yeah, okay, the idea. The problem, if you really go for the Axe-Blade, the Queen, it's weird to say that the Queen is a weapon, okay? It's kind of confusing. Though, if you go for Archfey, it's going to be very easy to explain. Let's just pick Archfey, to be fair with what we're supposed to do. You will get instead, starting at first level, your patron bestow upon you the ability to project the beguiling and fearsome presence of the Fae. She's in you. That makes sense for you. In action, you can cause each creature in a 10-foot cube originating from you to make a wisdom saving throw against your warlock spell save DC. It's not going to be high. We basically took the amount of point we needed in charisma to be able to dip in warlock. The creature that fails, the saving throws are all charmed or frightened by you. You decide on that. This may look absurd, but the whole concept of Shiro is that he's very intimidating. And when he's going for its tirade, while preparing a fight with his opponents, he's always trying to belittle them a little, just to make them understand that they will not win that fight. Other what they thought will happen. Eldritch Invocation, we went for Cloak of Flies. Cloak of Flies is basically the reason why I dipped up to level 5. Because I felt like it fitted. But as I said, if you decide to go for that build, 3-point in Warlock, the 2 last one, you push them as far as you can. Having that advantage on Intimidation, it's nice. But it only lasts 1 turn. It's very short-lived. It's really not that worth it. I would literally, like, if you want the sweet spot to stop in each classes, stop at level 11 in Swarmkeeper, stop at level 3 in Warlock, and just go for your Armor of Shadow so that you always have a +3 to your AC. And one with Shadow seemed to be something that fitted with the Ranger side of it. But if you would rather, like, stay at level 2, go for anything that is like Agonizing Blast, anything that will give you a little bit more on your Eldritch shot, so that you'll be able, if your DM is like, yeah, but you can only throw your swarm with your bow once, technically, and have the effect, yes, but then if he does not want to let you reflavor that, just flavor some Eldritch Blast so that they fit with what you want. Pact Boon. We went for Pact of the Chain. Either the Queen is the patron, or... Oh, sorry. Basically, Pact of the Chain will let you have a familiar. Take a bug familiar, make anything that would fit with that, and run with it. We took a few spells that totally fit with what we wanted. Some of them are just there because they are a good choice overall. Most of them are there so that they taste like what we would expect from Shino. Hunter's Mark is basically the concept that he was using against Kankuro when he dropped one of the bugs that was bringing in all the other bugs to beat him down. It's your way also to say that you put your bug tracker, which he does some moment in the story being like, yeah, my bug tells me that it's there that my enemy is, even though he's far, far, far away. Use them as tracking device. Hunter's Mark is basically putting a bug as a tracking device on your target, where you can be able to follow them in the next hours that's coming. Protection from poison. There is a fight against his brother where the whole concept is him being able to withstand the killing poison, the neurotoxin poison that his brother has in its own beetle that are making its own body. So that did fit. Conjure animals. Can let you summon some creature that would be insect. Thing with woodland being. Summon elemental was because I didn't know what to do with the rest of my points. Like at level 4, I went for this one as in we will probably find a way to flavor it with a DM. Water walk because he's a ninja. Every freaking ninja in Naruto learns how to water walk. There was no way we could like not go for water walk in the build. Meld into stone. I felt like it would be an alternative way to say I'm out of the picture for a round. I'm taking myself out of the picture and you just see like that swarm falling off on the ground. Technically your buddy is still there. They can still damage you if they break the rock. But that was a way to just like flavor it as you getting out of danger in your swarm. And for the warlock spells, we went for Eldritch Blast, as I said, just as a potential reflavor for the shot that you have, or if you are missing arrows or anything like that. Mage Hand. Technically, we already have. No, we don't have Mage Hand. So we take Mage Hand. Mage Hand is a good plus. If this guy was already having Mage Hand, though, we will have to go fix this. They cantrip. Poison Spray fits the idea of like throwing a few of your poisonous beetle. Old Person. There's a lot of moment in the story, and I know Old Person does not work exactly like this. There's one thing I was not able to emulate. There's a moment in the anime where Naruto is falling off a cliff, and he's just like sending a rope of bug to bring him back on the cliff. He's owning this shit. But I didn't find a way to emulate that. This is the thing that in the whole build, I'm like, I'm missing this part. Vampiric Touch is a thing that you could try to cast through your familiar to be able to say that he's like draining the mana, the chakra as they were doing in the fight against Kankuro. Counter Spell. If you have the possibility to take Counter Spell on any caster, go take freaking Counter Spell. There's like just I could encourage some people to dip up to level 5 into something just for Counter Spell. Ray of Enfeeblement, same thing. You're taking off some of the power of your enemy. That sounds like what Ray of Enfeeblement can do. You do not buff yourself, but it's not exactly what he's doing anyway with this bug. He's just like hindering the ability of Kankuro to use his puppet. Mirror Image. Every freaking ninja in Naruto has some way or another to make a clone of himself. Mirror Image feels like it. Those are things that once they are it, do not exist anymore, and they are no more a nuisance for the person that is trying to attack you. That seemed to like cover that base. There's a lot of spells that looked more optimized. If you're telling me that like, yeah, there's this that you didn't pick, and yes. The idea is also to make something that fits with the flavor of the character we're trying to produce here. So I would probably go 3-point in Warlock. The whole concept is that you decide to have that Fae, or you decide to have that Queen inside you. May it be like a representative of your patron or your patron. I would honestly try to argue with a DM that this has to be the patron for it to work decently. After this, you go for up to level 11 in Ranger. And after that, like once you are 3 Warlock, level 11 Ranger, the character has all the shape that it needs to have to say that you're playing Shino in the game. After that, if you want to push it further, you can, but you can also decide to build your character in a way that will let you dip in Monk. A 2 dip in Monk would be very interesting. You could also decide, you know, I think that's it. That's pretty much it. There, I think we have all the things that covers the basis of Shino. And if you want to put those 4 more here, great. If you want to put up to 5 here, you get that fly effect that gives you more intimidation. And he kind of use it during the anime where there's some character that he's just creeping out by letting the bugs like walk onto its face. So that is pretty much the sweet spot you are looking for. Also, it would fit with the Arc Fae Patron just because you're able to like make the enemy fear you, but only at a 5-foot range. Like more efficiently, you would get advantage on your intimidation. And if we keep on going, we went for 15 index. This is going to be a strength. Oh, fudge. Bring my face to something more small. This is going to be a situation where we dump the strength. The strength, we lower it at 8. There is nothing in the way that Shiro is played, that Shino is played, or that he hacks, that fits with him being strong. Most of what he does will be based on dexterity. He's dodging attack. He's trying to place a few of them, and he's mostly a long-range fighter in the way that he does fight during his encounters. Staying far, he's just controlling the fight until the setup that he has with his bugs turns the fight into its advantage. We went for high constitution. You need to be able to take a few hits. Everything that you have that you didn't dump somewhere else should kind of go here. We could save 1 here and put 2 in intel. The character is not a dumbass, and since we got our point from observant back, we get to 14 here. And charisma 13 is just to be able to pay the threshold to put your few levels in warlock and be by the book legit. So it gives you 8, 16, 14, 10, 14, 13. This is at level 20. Consider that it's going to be lower than this for a long time. But most of the thing we have here, like there's that coming from observant. All the rest is pretty much as is. This is like from your race. Well, out of 1 point of wisdom, you get everything of every one of those stats level 1. Once you get observant, you get like that little tick up for wisdom. We took Hermit just because I feel like if you're someone that is playing with poison skit and that live with bugs inside you, what else would you go for? It gives you also the ability to be like more decent, to get information, or what is it? Sorry. Yeah, you will need to work with your DM to decide like what you've learned while you are an hermit. For the suggested characteristic, this is something that you can deal with on your side. The only item we kind of like dabble into to try to see what we could put onto him was some armor. Studded leather or padded. One of those two would clearly fit with the look of the character. So like the whole armor that he's wearing, if you didn't know, basically a padded armor, people, is a Gambison. It's a kit that you're wearing that is thick, will cover yourself from most of the weather impediment, and will be able to just like endure a little how hard a weapon's gonna hit on you. So a thick coat, a very thick coat could technically do the equivalency of a padded armor on you, and you could put something onto it after that, metal wise. We took the arrow. The whole thing here, we did not had much out of like a Mariner studded leather, so that your water walk would not bring you underwater if you get knocked off or if you lose concentration. That's pretty much it. The dagger, the longbow, this is just the basic stuff. We didn't want to make that thing broken yet. And if we look at the character sheet, the strong point of the character, you get a pretty decent save. The strength and dex. Your constitution is average, wisdom average. Cha a little low, and intel is going to be like your weak spot for sure. I'm kind of surprised we get that +5, but it's basically because of the proficiency bonus that goes up. And the fact that you're technically a ranger. We have a passive perception at 29 with observant, with alert. This makes you basically unable to be surprised. To some point, we're going to be that boring person that is always looking at his DM and being like, okay, so do I see it? Is there something happening around us? Did I notice it? I noticed it, huh? Like, you're going to be pissing off your DM to some point. Everything here is to make your perception so much over the top that you're in control of what's happening around you. And the explanation for that, you have your bug snitching you everything that's happening. The number of HP you have is pretty decent at level 20, but like, consider that it's going to build up. This is why I would maybe recommend, well, both would go as well. I would still go for Warlock at first, and later on dip into, and later on go into Ranger, just because I prefer to play Warlock. But both way could do it well. Reach level 3 with Ranger, level 3 with Warlock at level 6, and after that, just like go and Ranger up to level 11. And you've got pretty much a build we would go for if we were trying to build Shino Aburame. Thanks a lot for listening. I'm sorry for the people that are not used to hit on the channel here and that it bored. Personally, I think this character really got messed up. He was not treated well by the author, and the whole concept behind it is so broken, so interesting, that could have done some very nice fight. He was one of my favorite characters to play onto the video game as well. I'm just disappointed we didn't see him fight more than we did in the anime.